Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, the last full week of June. The official start of summer is in full gear, and much of the country is very hot. Severe weather is still active, but predictably, it's in the northern U.S. and maybe a little bit in the eastern U.S. too. Here's a look at tornado reports for yesterday. These both came from the same supercell as it traced across extreme northern Minnesota. Pretty wooded area up there, a lot of lakes, of course, and I don't think there was any significant damage or anything, anybody injured with those storms at all. They did have some pretty good wind gusts up there too with some of these storms. 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts reported with that same thunderstorm complex, right around 60 miles per hour, a little bit to the southeast of there, and some 60-mile-per-hour gusts, maybe even a 70 back there in the panhandle of Nebraska. There was also some activity down to the north and west of Amarillo, Texas, with 60 mile-per-hour wind gusts, generally speaking, and also back toward around the Roswell, New Mexico area. Well, on the visible loop this morning, we have a big old circulation here, which is a high pressure area that is really just kind of stabilizing the atmosphere and causing all these hot temperatures. I'll have my weather to watch video later on today, and we'll talk about some of the heat that's developing out here. Anyway, you can clearly see that the only frontal zone of any consequence with regards to severe weather is right here in the central U.S. There's moisture coming up from the Gulf, actually, back in this way, and that's contributing to what will be beneficial rains, really, in parts of New Mexico. So let's get on with it today for Monday. Kind of a long area of severe weather possibilities, the level 1 stretching from El Paso all the way up to the northern part of Michigan, with the highest probability of severe weather from northern Kansas over to about Green Bay, basically, and all the areas in between. There is a tornado risk, although it's a little lessened today. A lot of times when the thunderstorm lines kind of stretch out in a linear fashion like that, with the jet stream changing in a way that doesn't allow low-level winds to really twist in. So you have tornado probabilities, but they're not synoptically driven. They're not a large-scale event. There could be one with an interaction with one or two storms. That's a 2% chance within a 25-mile circle. Nadocast run on the 0Z data last night, 7 p.m. It does show a little bit of a trickle of a chance down here through Iowa and Wisconsin, but not great. In fact, they only bullseye maybe a 2% chance there and a little tiny dot in northeastern parts of New Mexico. And they do run this with the model data up into Canada, and there's some pretty good risk up there in Quebec. With that's a 5% chance up in that part of the world. Let's take a look at the Colorado State University model. They're actually also emphasizing that tornado risk up there in Canada. Otherwise, it's a high wind risk with the squall line in Wisconsin later on tonight when those storms reactivate. A little bit of a hail risk with that too. The severe thunderstorm outlook for Tuesday has front range activity. So eastern Wyoming, maybe Denver, northeast Colorado, Panhandle, and Nebraska. And it's just kind of a long arm of possibilities along that stretched out front from that point all the way to Maine. There's a little bit of a tornado risk there, also in Denver and Cheyenne, and a good chunk of eastern Wyoming as well. Again, that's for Tuesday. If we look at the CSU model data guidance, it looks like a little bit of a tornado risk just pinpointed right there. The severe weather activity is generally over the next couple of days there, but a little less potent than it has been, let's say, over the weekend when we had a lot of storm and tornado reports up in the northern tier states. So that was the last 2 days of outlooks. Here's how the radar looks generally in that area, and you can kind of see these little squall lines that develop here. This one right here is tonight's. That's why there's probably going to be some wind damage. And would there be an isolated storm in there capable of a tornado? Yes. But not real common, I don't think, with this particular area. And then it just kind of reinvents itself again tomorrow, stretches out through that same elongated level 1 area here. And there's always room for enhancement when we get closer to the actual day, of course. So now switching to Wednesday, a severe weather threat in the southeast a little bit with some pop-up thunderstorms and also some just general kind of a broad brush again along that stalled out front from the South Dakota all the way over to New York City. Chicago's included in that. As far as CSU's outlook is concerned, tornado threat, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, maybe into Wisconsin, parts of South Dakota. And then we just go ahead. The SPC has not pulled the trigger on anything beyond that. So that would be the day 4 through 8 period. We only go out to day 7. But on Thursday, again, just kind of an area in northern Illinois, Iowa, southern Wisconsin on Thursday. It needs to be watched. Could include the Chicago area. out over Virginia, maybe by Friday. Little pockets also out in the high plains. Saturday, maybe a little bit more organized with the weather system coming together then. And then on Sunday, that same system moves east a little bit. So it looks like the severe weather is being muted a little bit. Although, again, on those extended forecasts, there's always room to nudge those up a little bit. Let's take a look at the supercell composite. This is published by NIU, Northern Illinois University. It's just an accumulation at all these pixels of the probability of getting a supercell. And a supercell generally is a thunderstorm that can produce severe weather. It lasts long enough, it doesn't kill itself with its own updraft. That just kind of implies that the air is unstable and that there's enough shear in the atmosphere from the bottom to the top, basically, of where all the weather happens, at least, to hold supercells together. So this is not uncommon in June to see this. This is kind of a stretched out boundary here and here. So it's really just a combination of both of those events. And then as we get into the first week of July, just about here, this activity is up in Nebraska. Again, very common to see Nebraska, the Dakotas, Minnesota, a little more active. And then in the middle of July, it kind of sinks back down to the front range of the Rockies there in parts of Colorado, still extending up into parts of the Dakotas. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day one because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.